Imagine this. You run a mobile kitchen, one of those caravans that you park on a busy street corner, the kind where the smell alone stops people in their tracks. You cook affordable hot meals, sadza. You might know it as ugali in East Africa and shima in Zambia, pap in South Africa, mai mule in Haiti, polenta in Italy, or grits in the American South. In Zimbabwe, we call it sadza. Whatever you call it, it's the same thing. Hot, filling, it's made from maize meal and it has fed communities across the world for generations. You serve it with relish, a meat relish, something hearty that working people can count on every single day. You know your customers by name, your portions are generous, and business is going relatively well. And then one day you go on a short trip and a relative that's visiting you switches off the fridge and forgets to switch it back on. And just like that, all your meat stock is gone. Everything you invested, everything you worked for that week is gone. Now, here's my question to you. Is that a business problem or a risk management problem? Una Nyikadzino says both. And I think she's absolutely right. In today's reflection, I'm going to speak about the lessons that I learned, the lessons that I'd like to share with you from my conversation with Una Nyikadzino. Now, this was one of those episodes that I am still thinking about today. Una is the founder of StandOwt, and she's the former executive director at Schweppes Holdings Africa. She was the first woman to hold that role. She built the farm style brand. She watched the brand die, and then she bought it back and resuscitated it. She knows something about risk. She knows something about resilience, and she knows a lot about what it really takes to build something meaningful in the African continent. But the moment in our conversation that I kept thinking about quite a bit after was when I asked Una, if you had a magic wand, what would you fix? And she did not say infrastructure. She did not say funding. She did not say electricity. And anyone who has tried to run a business in Zimbabwe or in Africa generally knows that that would have been a fairly understandable answer. But she said one word: water. I would not have thought of that, but water is the foundation of everything. In agriculture, in food production, manufacturing, community health, it comes back to water. Without it, all the ambition, the innovation, and talent in the world cannot produce a harvest. I mean, even with AI needs water. And we are finding that all this development in artificial intelligence is actually causing some rivers to run dry. But when you think of it deeper, this is actually true of careers too, because every career has its water, the thing that without it, nothing else grows. For some of us, it's that financial security. You must have that 6 to 12 month buffer that gives you the courage to take risks, to walk away from the wrong opportunity, to hold out maybe for the right opportunity. For others, it's that support network, the tribe, the mentor, the accountability partner, the one who keeps you grounded, or that thing that keeps you grounded when everything feels uncertain. For others still, it's the continuous learning, the commitment to keep watering your skills even when no one is watching. So I want to ask you, what is your water? And when last did you make sure you had enough of it? Now let's go back to the lady who lost all her meat. Yes, it's actually a real story. Una shares the story when we are talking about risk management in entrepreneurship. And it's one of those examples that is painful with a little bit of humor at the same time, because every single person listening to this who has run any kind of business in Africa knows exactly how this happens. So here's the thing about risk management that entrepreneurs often learn the hard way. You prepare for the risks you can imagine. You think about, what if sales are slow this week? What if the supplier lets me down? What if the price of meal goes up? Those are the risks that you see, on the register. But you never think, what if I go away and I bought a lot of meat stock and somebody switches off the fridge? Nobody put that one in the risk matrix, and yet it's there. Una made the point that small businesses, and in fact many businesses, overlook the importance of governance and systems and risk management structures until something goes wrong. Passion and hustle get you started, but the structures, the contingencies, the backup plans, those are what keep you going. And honestly, I have personal experience, not just from coaching others through it, but from living it. So many years ago, while I was still in my corporate job, I had a side hustle. In fact, I had a few side hustles, but let me talk about this one side husle. I reared chickens. and the business was growing steadily. My customer base was increasing, and I was very proud of it. I scaled up, got 100 chickens slaughtered, ready to deliver to my customers the following day. All those chickens had an order to deliver. I went to work the next morning as usual, came home early to collect the chickens so that I could deliver them, and I expected them to be frozen. And as soon as I walked through the door, there was a smell. I opened the fridge and the smell was even stronger. So what had happened was the ladies that I had hired to slaughter the chickens, pluck them, clean them up, and pack them away in the fridge had overfilled the fridge. The fridge has that capacity line. They had overfilled the capacity line, and they had not dripped the chickens properly either. There was bloody water everywhere. All the 100 chickens had gone bad. All the capital, all the profit was gone. So I had planned for a lot of things. I had planned for the customer who might cancel. I had thought about what if the price of feed goes up. I actually had some feed stocked up, but I did not write down, make sure the fridge is not overfilled and the chickens are properly dripped before storing. I didn't. That was not on my risk register. And yet, that's what happened. And fast forward a couple of years later, I've learned from my experience. I've learned a couple of things the hard way. And just a couple of weeks ago, it happened to me again. Different context, but same lesson. So I decided to migrate my organization's email from one service provider to another. The customer service had been appalling and I had had enough. Now, I want to be clear, this was not a small task. We're talking about 10 years of business emails, 10 years of client correspondence, proposals, contracts, conversations. So I handled the entire migration myself. I was very proud of myself. You know, when you run a small business, as many of you know, you wear every hat in the building. I was wearing the IT hat, the HR hat, the finance hat, all of them. So in this particular time, I was the the email administrator. I backed up the emails into a PST file and I thought I had done it properly. I then spent many hours on the phone, various call centers, each one giving me slightly different information. And this is now one of my greatest pet peeves. Call centers that give the wrong information. I got everything done, got my domain released, moved everything across to my new service provider, and I was very happy with my new service provider. This took me a whole week. A week later, I was back online, new provider, same email address. I was really genuinely proud of myself. A couple of days into this smooth transition, I went looking for an email I had sent a client in 2024 and it was not there. I searched. There was nothing. Panic mode now. It turns out the backup had only captured emails from January 2025 onwards. The Outlook folder I had backed up had been set to 1 year, 10 years of emails, and I had only saved 12 months of them. What followed was painful. Many more phone calls, more call centers. Eventually, I had to go back to the old provider, restore the account, restore the domain with them, rebuild the backup properly this time with reconciliation, email count checks, making sure the oldest email in the archive was actually there. I used ChatGPT to help me navigate some of the technical steps, and ChatGPT was very useful. Eventually, I got it done, but it cost me time, stress, and more hours on hold than I care to remember. So here the assumption was the risk. I assumed the backup was complete. I didn't verify. I did not check the oldest email in the archive before I pressed delete and moved on. I had done the work, but I had not done the checks and balances. Now, here's my take. This is not just an entrepreneurship lesson. I want to say that again. This is not just an entrepreneurship lesson. This is a career lesson, a life lesson. And if you are navigating a career transition right now, whether it's forced or voluntary, this matters for you too. How many of us have a risk management strategy for our careers? I'm not just talking about having a good CV. I mean, really thinking about what are the risks to my current position, my income, my professional relevance. What is my plan B? What is my 6-month financial buffer? Who is in my network that I can call today if I got the call tomorrow? In the humanitarian sector, where many of us operate on fixed-term contracts, where funding challenges are the weather, not the exception, We know things can change. We have seen reorganizations. We have lived through restructuring. And just last year, there was a big change. And I now have a webinar. As a result of that, I was getting all these texts from my previous clients, from a lot of people telling me my job has been abolished. We no longer have funding. But many of us still, we have no risk management for our careers. I mean, how many of us have sat down and genuinely mapped our career risks the way a good entrepreneur maps their business risks? The Sadza lady earlier did not plan for the relative and the fringe. Most of us don't plan for the organizational restructuring, the sudden end of the funding cycle, the role that disappears because the priorities have shifted. And when that happens, just like with the meat, the loss is real and it hurts. But here's the thing. You can plan before the fridge gets switched off. You can plan before the post gets abolished. Let me give you 3 practical things inspired by Una's conversation. And if you have not yet listened to my conversation with Una, please do go 1 episode back in this playlist and listen to it. So here are the 3 practical things that you can do today to start managing your career risks more intentionally. 1. Map your risks honestly. Take 15 minutes this week and ask yourself, what are the real vulnerabilities in my current career position? Is my role heavily dependent on one funder? Is my skill set specific to one sector? Is my professional network thin in the places that matter most? You cannot manage what you have not named. Write it down. And at Humor, we have this framework that we use. It's called Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. If you join our webinar, which is Design Your Career with Intentionality, we have these webinars monthly. If you join one of our webinars, we take a deep dive into that framework. There is also in season 1 of the episodes, I talk about this framework. Okay, let's move on to the second practical thing you can do. Build your reserves. Una talks about governance and structure in business. In your career, your reserves are your buffer, financial, relational, and professional. Financially, work towards that 6 to 12 months emergency fund so that a sudden job loss does not force you into a bad decision. Relationally, invest in your network before you need it, not when you're already in crisis. Professionally, keep your CV current, keep your LinkedIn active, and keep developing skills that are transferable beyond your current role. 3, this is the third takeaway. Third action plan, third practical thing that you can do today. Have a plan B that you actually believe in. Not a vague, I'll figure something out, a real plan. Una walked away from a 20-year corporate career because she had built something to walk towards. She had StandOwt, she had Farm Style, she had a vision. You do not have to leave your career to have a plan B, but you do need to know what it looks like. Is it consultancy, a portfolio career, a pivot into a different part of the sector? Know your exit before you need to use it. The Sadza lady is still in business, by the way. I know this because Una still buys from her. Generous portions and all. She lost the meat that week, but she didn't lose the business. And she also had a relational reserve because Una actually helped her restock. So she adapted and she continued. Manage your risks, know your water, build the structure. And when the unexpected happens, and in this sector, you know it will. You will not just survive it, you will continue building through it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Batje's Take on Humor Career Insights. If what we discussed today resonated with you, share it with someone who is navigating a career transition right now, or anyone who you think might need to hear it. And don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you listen. If you are watching on YouTube today, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. It really does make a difference in growing the community. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.